Hello everyone, welcome to this version of Run Rank. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Joshua Cheptegei and his recent 5,000 meter world record breaking performance, as well as diving into a little bit of some of his previous races, trying to get a sense of how he became the runner that he is today. So without further ado, let's get on it. Here we see some footage from Joshua Cheptegei himself, training in Uganda, his home country. Uh, Joshua Cheptegei was actually born in the Kapsewe-Kipchoge district in Uganda, which is a pretty rural area, about 40 miles by road to the nearest city and 180 miles from Kampala, Uganda, the capital and major city in Uganda. This is also notably the home district of Stephen Kiprotich, the men's marathon gold medalist at 2012 Olympic Games in London. So definitely an area to keep an eye out for future distance athletes. Looks like a lot of new talents coming out from the Ugandan ranks, so we'll be paying close attention to that. Pretty interesting here to note that there's only one full distance 400-meter measured track in all of Uganda itself. So most of Joshua's training comes in these sort of dirt-based roads or dirt-based tracks that aren't really fully up to standard in terms of measurements, but somehow he gets it done. And who can deny that it's working out for him after this world-breaking attempt? So yeah, I just want to show you guys a little bit of footage from where his training situation is all set up. Besides this, there are a couple sort of things we can start to chat about briefly about Joshua Cheptegei's background. So starting off, before we get into some of the more recent races, it's important to note that he was already a pretty prominent running prodigy in some of his earlier years, mostly in the teenage years, because he did start running kind of late in his life. But even in 2014, he won the 10,000 meter World Junior Championships, placed fourth in the 5,000 meter Junior Championships. This is a brief clip from him at the post-race interview at this Junior World Championships.
How did it feel to win the World Junior Championships, the second time a Ugandan has won a World Junior 10,000 meters?
Yeah, I feel so much happy and delighted after winning the 10,000 meter race.
How happy is everybody in the Ugandan family now?
Oh wow, very happy. Yeah, they're very happy after seeing the Uganda flag up. Wow. Yeah.
Notably that year,
Good.
Joshua Cheptegei won the 5,000 meter race that year as a junior as well. So both of them were now some of the prominent senior runners on the senior circuit. And then also in 2015, the following year, he won the African Junior Championships, 10,000 meter run, and placed ninth at the Senior World Championships as just an 18-year-old at the time. So really displaying a lot of talent, really at the top of the level in terms of his peers by age group at the teenage level, 17, 18 years old over those 2 years, and then starting to jump into the senior ranks and being somewhat competitive in around 2015. So still a little bit back. And then following that, we saw him actually at the Rio Olympics, where he qualified to represent his country and placed sixth in the 10,000 meters, as well as eighth in the 5,000 meters. At that time, he was only 19 years old with already an Olympic performance under his belt. So pretty spectacular for a 19-year-old to be at the Olympics representing the country, and not even just representing, but also placing in a pretty decent position. As I mentioned, sixth in the 10,000 meters and eighth in the 5,000 meters. So definitely a lot of potential here. I'm not sure he was really noticed by some of the sort of the pundits covering the race. Everyone was so fixated on Mo Farah's performance, but I definitely took notice and is someone who I expected big things from. So I'm glad to see it all come to fruition now. Anyways, moving forward. Here's a clip of Cheptegei at the 2017 World Cross Country Championships. This is where we really thought he was going to start taking off, but he took the lead with about a lap remaining and then just completely crashed. He had 11-second lead, which even the announcers were thinking he was going to run away with this championship first place performance, but ultimately his body just didn't. His body just wasn't up to the task, it seems. So this is really crazy footage here. Very few times that I've seen a distance runner really crash that badly in a championship style race. But coming back from that, Cheptegei actually had a really outstanding performance in his next major meet, competing against world-class competition. He competed this World Championships 10K. This is maybe just a few months after that collapse at the World Cross Country Championships. And he gave Mo Farah a run for his money here. He went out, took the lead. We can see here he's in the lead from the very beginning. And he's going to push the pace for at least the first half of the race before some others start to join in here. We'll see here that most of the race announcers were pretty focused on Farah. One key thing to highlight here was that sort of sprint finish towards the end. I think a lot of people have written off Cheptegei in the past, saying he can't do well in a tactical race. He doesn't have that finishing speed. But we saw here him outclassing some world-class Kenyan runners down the finish line and sticking step for step with Mo Farah. So I think that's a little bit overblown, and I think those people should go back and watch this race to see that he does have that finishing speed here, even as far back as 2017. And now that he's a much better runner, stronger runner, I wouldn't be surprised to see him finish really strong in future races. So there you have it. That was Cheptegei coming second place at the World Championships. Moving forward from that, he actually faced quite a little bit of injuries for the next year or two. And took a while for him to get back up to speed. Next, we saw him here at the World Cross Country Championships. This is in 2019, so fast forward almost 2 years here from that silver medal at the World Championships. And yeah, some key things to highlight here. We pick it up here. It's already pretty far into the race, probably maybe just 3-4 minutes left here through the rest of the course. But we see here that he's already picking up the pace. One key thing here is that he finished first place just ahead of his compatriot Jacob Kiplimo, which is also another very talented Ugandan runner. I think I'll make a video on him in the next couple of weeks or something, but someone I really want to highlight as well. And probably the most serious threat to Cheptegei over the next decade or so in terms of taking the mantle for the best sort of distance runner in the world. Either him or Kipruto, probably. I made a video on Kipruto a while back. Check that out in my channel. But anyways, we see here Cheptegei and Kiplimo really the class of the field here, pulling away from everyone else. I think it's pretty interesting. We see a lot of maybe the Ethiopians that excel on the track. Sometimes that doesn't translate over towards the cross country, but I'll turn up the volume here so you guys can listen into the last minute or so of the race, and then we'll get back to the commentary.
The line almost holding hands. Look at this, driving into the hill once again. And Joshua Cheptegei in the lead there, right of picture. Spent all of last year out with a knee injury. Very, very frustrated for summer 2018 after a fabulous 2017 summer. Well, those knees are better, and they're pumping hard up this hill, Rob. And surely now he's got a gap on his Kiplimo, his compatriot, and a winning gap.
This is looking good for Joshua Cheptegei. What a journey it's been for him. He learned such a hard lesson in Kampala. His adrenaline got the better of him in front of a massive amount of noise. With an 11-second lead over Jeffrey Kamworor, his race imploded, and so with it, 2 years ago, his dreams of becoming the first senior champion for Uganda. Kiplimo is going to get the silver. He's an incredible talent at the age of 18, but this is going to be a glorious run into the finish for Joshua Cheptegei. He looks over his shoulder, and now the celebrations begin. What a contrast to 2 years ago. Recovering from injury, recovering from a car crash, to come here and conquer one of the greats of all time. Joshua Cheptegei is the world cross-country champion. The first Ugandan.
This was a really important result for Cheptegei because it really vindicated him from his previous performance 2 years before, where his body broke down in that footage I showed you at the 2017 World Championships. He came back and won that exact same race. So kudos for him on doing that. And then moving forward on his schedule, we saw him next at this 5,000 meter Diamond League meet. Wanted to highlight this Zurich meet because it really showed Cheptegei's versatility across various disciplines. A lot of people are thinking of him as a 10,000 meter cross country type guy, but he really came out here and took the pace hard. From halfway through, he opened up a gap on the Ethiopians, and they never really reeled him back in, really showing that he can push the pace from early on in the race and just build up a gap that is pretty insurmountable for some of the other world elite athletes. I think here, something that also happened was that some of these other runners took him a little bit lightly. They still, for some reason, despite his performances, didn't think of him as a serious threat over a 5,000 meter distance, and let him get away a little bit. And no one really was the one that was brave enough to close that gap here. We see Barega, Kejalcha, Bekele, and Gebrewe in that chase pack. And I think Barega was the one that tried to make a couple of moves here, but just not quite able to reel him back in. And then Cheptegei really just showing that strength, leading from the very onset. Has really calm demeanor when he runs. Even when he's tired, he doesn't really show it. pretty admirable form. We'll zoom in here on the last lap or so and hear the commentary from the live performance.
But those long legs of his hanging on to Barega and Gebriwet, and they're closing fast. Cheptegei is still going well. It's 15 meters now, maybe 12 meters. And Barega with Gebriwet following. Gritted teeth, Kajelcha's got no chance. Cheptegei hurting. Can he raise his game? The crowd want him to win this. He will deserve it. Gebriwet chasing hard, but Cheptegei's found something else. He goes away again. Cheptegei hanging on for the victory. What a great run. It's going to be under 13 minutes. Cheptegei wins.
Great performance by Cheptegei here over the short track distance, really cementing himself as not just a 10K guy, but also at the 5K. And then we have the Doha 2019 World Championships, where he decided to just do the 10,000 meters and skip out on the 5,000 meter distance. I think at this point he was coming in as one of the favorites now, having won World Cross Country Championship, as well as African Championships, Youth World Championships, and then previous Diamond League 5,000 meter race. I think people were taking him a little bit more seriously, and as they got going, I think it was pretty clear what the strategy was. Cheptegei and his compatriot, the other Ugandan in the race, took it out pretty hard over the first mile or so. And then from there, moving forward, Cheptegei and Kipruto ended up switching leads back and forth. They were the two guys that were really pushing the pace, and I think this is going to be a really good rivalry over the next couple of years. And I think it's really a really good rivalry to run fast times and break world records. Both of them already have broken world records on the roads. Cheptegei more recently on the track as well. And if they're both in same races as they progress towards half marathon, marathon distances in their careers, these are two runners who like to take the pace out fast. And oftentimes when you're taking out the pace fast, you don't have anyone to run with, but they're going to have each other to run with. And I think the third of this trifecta is going to be Kiplimo, who unfortunately wasn't able to make it to this meet because of injury. Really from the top sort of world-class 10,000 meter guys, the only ones missing maybe were Kamwar, Kiplimo, and I guess Mo Farah, who's probably going to be coming back down to the distance for the Olympics. I'm very interested to see how Cheptegei does in a head-to-head race against Mo Farah now that Cheptegei is at sort of that top level that he wasn't at when he previously got the chance to go up to Mo Farah. So let's see what happens at the Olympics. Winning this 10,000 meter world championship on the track, Cheptegei then moved over to the roads, and a couple months later competed in the Valencia 10K road race. We see some footage here. And this race was particularly notable because he ended up breaking the long-standing 10-kilometer road world record here. Since then, it is important to note that Ronek Skipruto, who I mentioned a couple times in this video, went on to break Cheptegei's record. But at the time of the footage that we see here, which was towards the end of 2019, I think December 2019, Cheptegei broke this record running a 26:38, shaving off 6 seconds from the previous mark of 26:44 set by Kenya's Leonard Komon in 2010. So this is really a fantastic performance, sensational 2019 year for Cheptegei with the hat trick that includes world titles on the cross country, the 10,000 meter on the track that we just went over, and then this world record on the roads. Really capping off a fantastic 2019 and showing his versatility across the entire spectrum of running disciplines, cross, roads, and track. One more thing on this impressive world record on the roads, his time of 26:38 is still a little bit far off the track world record from Kenneth Bekele at 26:17. So there's still a little bit of work for Cheptegei to do, but if some of his other performances are any indication, as we'll see in the next clip, there is good reason to believe that Cheptegei could approach that 10K world record as well. So let's keep an eye out for that. I wouldn't be surprised to see him make an attempt at that 10K track world record later this year or maybe earlier next year. 10K is his best discipline, and he just broke the 5K world record on the track. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that in the near future. And then as we switch over to the roads, again, we're switching over to the 5K now. This is in Monaco. This is fast forwarding over to the year 2020. I believe it was in February 2020. Cheptegei competed in this Monaco race and dominated from start to finish, went after the world record. And as Cheptegei seems to do, he also conquered this world road record on the 5K distance. This is pretty important as sort of like a preamble towards what he was going to do a little bit later in the year on the track, and really give us a glimpse into how strong a runner Cheptegei is and what kind of form he's in right now. This is sort of the start of Cheptegei in Monaco. Really, I think Monaco was really good to Cheptegei this year, breaking 2 world records on the road and on the track. And it was really soon thereafter from this race that the COVID situation around the world really started to hamper a lot of track athletes, and particularly with the Olympics being canceled, it threw everyone into sort of unknown territories in terms of how they were going to train, what they were going to optimize for. And in some interviews, Cheptegei said that he switched his focus from the Olympics into sort of a world record chasing type of training, and just sort of tailoring all his training and focus towards breaking some world records. And speaking of world records, next up we have the 5,000 meter Monaco track Diamond League meet where Cheptegei set the world record for 5,000 meters on the track. I'll let you listen into what some of the announcers were saying about the possibility of this record being broken as this race started here.
Is equivalent to 3 times a mile in 4:02, and then another half lap at a pretty healthy clip. That in itself sounds astonishing. They need to run 60.5 per lap, and I'm not sure anybody here is going to do it. Whether or not Cheptegei's in the mood, we shall see.
So as you can hear, the announcers were pretty doubtful that Cheptegei actually had what it took to break this record, especially given the fact that he was talking about it leading up to the race. Him and his team made it all that more impressive. He was actually able to perform under the pressure and go after that record. Some of the pacers here, we have Roy Hornweg, Stephen Kisa, and Matthew Ramsden. Some of these guys have already previously paced for Cheptegei in road situations where he's broken records, so he was in pretty comfortable setup with familiar pacers. But Cheptegei ends up taking the lead in this race fairly early. It's hard to find pacers who are willing to go with him deeper into the race. It's really ridiculous pace. Just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what Cheptegei needed to do going into this race to break the record, he needed to average a 60.59 seconds per lap, which is absolutely insane over the 5,000 meter distance. He also needed a 231.47 per kilometer and a 402.36 per 1,600 meters to get the world record. Basically running near 4th lap per mile, 402 per 1,600 meters. Absolutely ridiculous. I just can't even believe how someone can physically do something like that. Let's take a look at Cheptegei's splits in this race. We see he splits 60.70, 61.70, 60.64, 60.41, 61.25, 60.91, 60.03, 60.10, 60.18, 60.33, 59.5, 59.97, and 59.64. Really amazing pacing. This is something Cheptegei seems to have this internal clock in his head. He's very good at this, and was finally able to take down this world record that was long-standing. It stood for 16 years. Bekele had the record at 12:37, and no man in history had really held the record as long as Bekele. But here comes Cheptegei putting down 12:35. Really impressive. The other people to note in this race was Kameli, the Kenyan who finished second. He's only 21 years old and pretty good runner in and of himself, running a 12:51, which is a really, really strong time given the situation with no track races really being held on a frequent basis this year. Something also to note in this race, Cheptegei didn't really seem to tire throughout the race. Even towards the end, he still seemed fairly relaxed. When people are going after these world records, usually towards the end, we see them laboring a bit. And it wasn't until the last 50 meters or so that we saw Cheptegei start to grimace. And even then, it was sort of a lighthearted grimace. You see here, he's just has very calm demeanor on his face. The form is pretty consistent and focused on that world record. A couple other runners to note that had good performances were Mike Foppen, a Dutch runner, 23 years old, um, coming at pretty good pace, low 13s, as well as another runner that I'm keeping an eye out for. It was Osimo Mais from Spain, 21 years old only, but probably a top European runner right now, even at that age range. And then Jimmy Gracier, who has been known to be a strong runner for the last couple of years. But really, out of all of them, Osim Omais seems like the one who I am keeping an eye out for to compete maybe at a higher level over the next couple of years. So I'll let you guys listen into sort of the finish of this race here, and then we'll chat a little bit more about this performance and finalize the video.
Waving him on is being lapped now, and hardly surprising. Great runners will be lapped by this man as he goes into the final 200 meters. Still looking strong, no panic, no sign of stress, not driving hard. He's got to hit the clock, hit the line in 12:37.35. Is he going to do it? Because he's tiring now. Down the home straight. Surely it's going to be close. Watch the clock. 10 seconds to go. He's got about 50 meters to run, and he's still driving for the line. At last he grimaces and looks mortal. But there, 12:35.37. The world record has been broken by almost exactly 2 seconds. And he's still smiling. He's still in good shape. This fella, well, probably deserves...
Well, there you go. Joshua Cheptegei breaking the 5,000 meter world record on the track. Super impressive performance. Here I compiled a list of all-time best 5,000 meter times, and we see how hard it is to run under 12:50, and even more difficult to run under 12:40. Only a handful of people have done that. Here's some imagery from Cheptegei returning to his hometown Uganda, the reception he got as a hometown hero. I guess just we'll wrap it up here. It's already a really long video, 20 plus minutes. So leave me a little bit more thoughts on the comments. Who do you think can challenge Cheptegei over the next couple of years? And also, do you think he can go faster over the 5,000 meters? Should he go after the 10,000 meter world record on the track? A couple outside. But until then, thanks for watching the video. Subscribe and like the video if you like content like this. We keep making more things like this for you guys to enjoy. And until next time.